So yeah, I've been running Trellis for almost about 9 years now, and one of the things I did pretty early on was really make sure that we were kind of like focusing on cloud-based applications. And some of that, some of the stuff we do is via open source stuff, but we end up, hosting it on things like AWS, or it's run in a browser, so it's a similar cloud experience that you would get with a SaaS cloud software. And I think now the market is so mature that like you really should run pretty much all your business in the cloud to some degree. There's, I'm sure some exceptions where you might not want to do that, but I want to just kind of like walk through the main areas that I think you should be using cloud for. So first is kind of like your CMS platform or your e-commerce platform, where your website is and you're managing all your content that consumers or businesses see up for your website. And there are a lot of good platforms like this. Like Squarespace is a very easy to use, good CMS platform for like a smaller website. And then something like WordPress, although it's open source, you can use a platform like WP Engine to kind of get a very cloud-like experience. And then, two of the most popular e-commerce platforms out there that are growing really fast are Shopify and BigCommerce. They're both cloud platforms, and even Magento has a cloud-based solution now. So mostly e-commerce platforms have some sort of cloud-based, aspect to them that's pretty easy to use. So obviously it makes sense to just have your website in the cloud. We all work remote. I mean, me and you, Jack, probably log into our website more than anyone, and sometimes it's at my house, sometimes it's at the office, sometimes it's from on
Across different devices. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be mobile, and we can log into the website or the admin panel and update content at pretty much any moment. The other just easy basic thing is cloud storage. We pretty much store everything. We use Google Drive just because we use G Suite and email through Google, and it's just kind of nice to have it all in one. I know a lot of people use Microsoft, so they have a solution, but there's a million solutions out there now. I mean, it's to me, it's just crazy to not store it in the cloud. It's allows your employees to get to everything, or you can kind of restrict permissions if you don't want them to have access to everything and some things. And it's just a better way to organize your documents.
Certainly, especially in the post-COVID world where everyone's working remotely.
Exactly. And the other thing is just, I think people are scared of the cloud, but like it's not very secure to have, if you have a hard drive and that hard drive breaks, or you lose it, your data is gone. I have a lot of faith that Google Drive is not going to lose my data. They could, I guess, in theory, but I think it's pretty unlikely, and less likely than my hard drive or something just breaking, which very well could happen.
Do you think consumers are more afraid of data being lost or stolen when they're storing it on the cloud?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both, but I mean, someone could come into your house and steal your hard drive. That's the way I kind of look at it. And I think, with two-factor authentication, if you're worried about security, there's just so many ways to have good security. Have a good password. It's pretty hard for them to get hacked on this kind of stuff. So at least the major providers' security is pretty strong. So, you have your banking online, your bank account's online, you're willing to trust that. Like, how is it this much different from that? I guess it'd be really, really paranoid that you could have your crypto wallet in like a little thing that only the code, but
yeah. Cloud storage has been around for so long, and security is pretty strong at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
there's some of these other categories are newer to the cloud space.
Yeah. Accounting is a good example where like we still see clients all the time that have like desktop-based software, and I just think it's absurd because it's like only someone has access to the computer. Like, what happens if that computer goes down? It's just such a vulnerability and restriction. And accounting is obviously such a critical function of business. With QuickBooks Online, I mean, we use QuickBooks Online, and we've been able to scale it pretty well. I mean, NetSuite, you can scale. I mean, these cloud solutions, you can scale them with hundreds of millions of dollars as a business and do pretty complex accounting. And there's obviously a lot of other cloud accounting solutions. Those are just some of the two popular ones. So to me, it's just crazy not to have your accounting online. Plus, now with remote, if you want your CPA to log in,
Right.
you can log in. Doesn't matter where he is.
Exactly. Yeah. In the modern world, I think it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
From
The
both scalability and functionality point of views.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you have, different people you want to log in, different permissions you want to give them. The other no-brainer is scheduling meetings. I think that's, more or less a table stakes for people these days, but, Zoom's one of our favorites, but, there's a lot of good ones out there to schedule meetings. And then I think kind of the new hop-in type stuff that you've been doing, Jack, is kind of another way to think about it is you can have these more event-like experiences with meetings, do something a little bit bigger with an event using a platform like Hopin. It's a little more robust than a Zoom.
Yeah, as in-person events kind of become more and more extinct, we've been using softwares like Hopin and Zoom to connect. And it's been working out amazingly.
Yeah, yeah. Project management, I think that's a no-brainer. Asana, Basecamp, Trello, Jira. We use Jira. It's pretty good for more sophisticated workflows. But when you can log in and see all the tasks and see what's going on and hold other people accountable, I mean, I think that's even if we're in person and we're all working in at our computer, in the same office, you still need that. So it's crazy not to have it. I mean, I think every business should have some aspect of it, even if you're not, you don't have to be a software development shop to use project management and get value from it. So.
Yep. I mean, with multiple departments and over 70 employees, we got a lot going on. So Jira is very good at tracking the tasks and ensuring all the timesheets and everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. But let's say you're not, we have, I think our business model like really needs that. But let's say you make socks. I still think it's valuable to have. It can help you organize some of your projects and some of your tasks, and maybe you're managing multiple different contractors and you want to keep on top of that. It's just a good way to kind of keep companies organized with cloud project management tools. Plus, anyone can log in. I think communication is another obvious one. Slack, Microsoft Teams, email, all this stuff is fairly cloud based. I mean, it's just better to have it in something that you can log in on any browser. Yeah, let's keep going. There's a lot to cover here. I think applicant tracking is kind of an interesting one because I think a lot of people don't even know about this. Having one system that you can log in. We use Jazz, but there's other ones out there like Greenhouse where you can manage all your jobs. They get syndicated to all the different, it's almost like like social media management software, but for jobs. Because now there's so many job websites out there and it's hard to manage all that. Just having one software that kind of like does that for you, and then you can put it up on your website. So we like embed the jobs from Jazz onto our website. It's just kind of nice to have this like one central system, and we kind of build, workflows around that, and you kind of build your hiring operations around that.
Yeah, and it facilitates the reviewal process as well.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, because let's say, I mean, you started as an intern and now you're managing people, and like I think
I'm hiring people. I'm doing the process
so you're
myself.
involved in that, right? And you were like, you can go look in Jazz, look at the resumes. Like, no, I don't like this person, or I like this one. Let's interview this person.
Exactly.
So
Did the first cut last week. Now Jared's going through and able to filter through who we want to interview. So
yeah, exactly. Like I didn't even think about that, but that's another good reason. Another one that you're probably pretty familiar with is JustWorks, which we use for, it's a PEO system, but that's just one of many. I mean, Gusto is a pretty popular one. There's some newer ones out there that seem pretty cool. I think, doing payroll and just benefits and all of that stuff through one system has a lot of value. And it's just nice for employees to have like one software they can go to log in, usually has kind of like a service component where you can call someone or email them. And
yeah, it's definitely nice to have a rule of law to always look back to, for PTO, time off.
Manage PTO. No one feels like they're getting cheated. If we have to pay it out, we can pay it out. If sometimes we do bonus PTO for overtime, things like that.
Mm-hmm. It keeps the whole process super transparent and the team happy.
Yeah, exactly. CRM, I think, is another no-brainer. We use HubSpot CRM. It's free, actually. I think a lot of people don't even realize it's free. So, I mean, if you're not using a CRM, like you should at least use HubSpot free CRM. Yeah, I guess there's my sales pitch for HubSpot. And then, Salesforce is obviously like the big one, Microsoft Dynamics. I mean, there's a lot of, cloud CRMs, but, it's nice to be able to all log in. I mean, and now we're using it more from a marketing standpoint. So you can see all the leads and the deals that you're generating for marketing. And then, we see kind of like just where we're tracking and trending in terms of deals. Yeah, I think it's just a no-brainer. I mean, I think it's, get off paper and pen, get out of Excel.
Join the modern world.
Yeah, there's people still using Excel on this stuff. It's just, but yeah, marketing's obviously, very cloud based. I mean, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn are some of they're more like social media cloud platforms, but beyond that, I think you have the marketing automation tools like a HubSpot or Pardot and Adobe Essence tools. So there's just so many cloud marketing tools. I think there's reports of like thousands out there that you can analyze.
There's tons of scheduling tools for social media like Hootsuite or Later, Canva, etc.
Yeah. So marketing, I think, the cloud pretty much runs marketing these days one way or the other. So even doing direct mail, let's say sending mail, there's definitely direct mail, direct response, cloud solutions, SMS solutions, Twilio, things like that you can just log into a browser and work off of. So speaking of email, that's another no-brainer. MailChimp, we use Digital and Klaviyo. There's a million of them out there. Just makes sense to obviously cloud solution for email.
Yeah, and our marketing team has used all three of these solutions: Klaviyo, MailChimp, Digital. They all have pros and cons, but they're pretty similar.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other good ones out there. Those are just probably the most common ones that we encounter. I think a big one, a big migration that a lot of legacy companies need to go through is the ERP. Because a lot of these companies had an ERP before the cloud was a big thing, maybe in 2005 or 2006, people are really unsure about the cloud, or they're kind of used to desktop software, and it's a pretty big migration to upgrade your ERP. But I think it really is a game changer. I think it's one of the most important things you can do is move your ERP to the cloud. Whether that's cloud, I mean, it could be cloud via AWS. Like you could just put your ERP onto AWS, so at least everyone can access it, even if you stay on kind of like a legacy solution. But then obviously there are things like NetSuite, Infor Cloud Suite, Sage. There's a bunch of cloud ERP solutions. I think Microsoft Dynamics 365 is all cloud now. There's just really no reason not to have it in the cloud. And be it, that way all your employees can access it more easily. Plus, you could have it in different data centers. If one data center goes down, you have a backup in another data center. It's a, very, more secure way to manage your data, which goes into documents and data, Airtable, Google Docs. We do a lot in Google Docs and Google Drive, not just Google Docs, like Sheets and SlideShare. A lot of people like Microsoft Drive just because, they're used to Microsoft. So it doesn't really matter which one you use, But what I want to ask you, Jack, is, I think at this point, as someone that's been here for a little while, I think we're pretty much all in the cloud. Like I'm trying to think of what we do that's not in the cloud at Trellis. I mean, I have like the desktop Slack app, but it's still cloud-based software. Like what are we doing that's not in the cloud at Trellis?
I take some handwritten notes sometimes, but besides that, I'm not too keen on any other initiatives. We were 75% remote before the pandemic, so we're a digital brand.
Yeah, we were pretty cloud-based before, and now it's just even more necessary. But I mean, I like it. I think from your perspective, I'm curious, like, has it been, it's been good with just getting up and running on things. I mean, I know LastPass is probably the most annoying thing.
It's also very useful though. But yeah, growing up in the digital age, I've been using devices and technology my whole life. So it's been pretty easy to get up and running working here at Trellis. It's definitely been very efficient using all of these cloud technologies, much more efficient than I had ever expected. Even going into the professional space, I thought there would be a lot of inefficiencies in the workspace. And as that's kind of part of the reason why you started Trellis in the first place, because you noticed those inefficiencies.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And
I think,
at other companies, I didn't necessarily have the control to be like, hey, let's go use this system. So, I was kind of, at my last corporate job, they were like, they want us to show up in person at 8 a.m. Just a lot. When, first of all, like being in person was pretty useless because we were doing outside sales anyway. So there was just a lot of very inefficient, things that we had to do that just, I think we were still doing paper contracts. We didn't talk about contracts, DocuSign, Panda
right.
Doc. I mean, I think there's a lot. We should probably add to this blog post.
Definitely can. But
Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah. So, I think a lot more we could talk about, but yeah, hopefully this was helpful.
Yeah, I mean, what part of the cloud would you think businesses should focus on first? Because there's a lot of areas here. It could probably
Yeah,
be
that's a really
hard
good
to
point.
transition everything over right away. Where do you think business should start?
Yeah, I would start with cloud storage. I think getting everything into cloud storage is a good way to stay organized. Google Drive, get everything into folders. That way, oh, where's this record of this? It's all there. We've done a pretty good job with having like different folders, like client folders, and I think cloud storage is a good place to start. I think your actual website is another good place. Whether it's like a Squarespace or Shopify or even if it's like, you want to use WordPress, but use something like WP Engine, which just kind of gives it that cloud feel. And then obviously I think the other ones would be scheduling meetings, Zoom, Slack, getting all the communication into the cloud, I think is really important. And then I think after that, it's kind of a matter of where you're at and how hard it is to roll some of these out. If something's easy to roll out, like, hey, we don't have a applicant tracking software, so let's just get one of these ones and just set it up. That's a lot easier than if you have to like upgrade your ERP. The ERP is probably like one of the harder ones if you're on something legacy, So I would kind of do the easiest ones first, which I think is, things like your website, like email and Zoom and all that, Slack. It's pretty easy to set up a Slack account, or Microsoft Teams.
Yeah. Go after the low-hanging fruit. So I think my final point here is that upgrading to the cloud can add value to business in a few ways, right? It can add revenue to your bottom line, improve your processes, but it can also improve your employee satisfaction. It can make their lives easier and make their job more enjoyable on a day-to-day basis. So,
Yeah, I think that's the most underrated thing is that, if you're a high value employee, like I'd like to think pretty much everyone we have is that, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to be like, doing some slow process. So, anything that's slower and efficient is going to kind of frustrate you and wear you down and burn you out and make you kind of feel less valuable than you are. So I think that's probably the most underrated aspect of it, is keeping your employees happy. So I agree.